Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm very excited to be back here with Tamu Thomas. Welcome back.
Hi, Shireen. Thank you for having me back. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing
I'm
today?
very well, thank you.
Oh, lovely. I'm so excited to talk to you because we spoke over a year ago. For those who
hmm
haven't heard, it was when your beautiful book, Women Who Work Too Much, Breaking Free from Toxic Productivity, came out or was
Yes.
about to come out, right? Maybe
hmm
it had already published. And it was such a beautiful talk. And we did it around also on the theme of International Women's Day, as I
Yes.
can remember it. And I'm so excited to continue this talk because I think so much has also happened in a year. And then because your book, and I listened to it, I love listening to it as well. It's it dives into this toxic productivity and how it relates to burnout, and then this is like a never ending cycle for women especially, and I can truly feel that I've experienced that and embodied that in a new way this past year, since I but like
Wow.
being extremely conscious about it, but seeing like how that affects everything and the creativity. And I would love to tap in today like a little bit deeper into that, and also how it connects to our sensitivity, how it connects to our spiritual path. And
hmm
maybe for those who haven't listened to our previous talk, maybe you can just share a little bit about yourself. And of course, anyone who wants to know even more about the background, they can go back to that podcast.
Yeah.
So just, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much for that introduction and recapping our previous conversation. I am primarily a coach for women who want to redefine success. So I work with women who are, well, women and non-binary people and trans people who want to create wonderful work in the world, but they are no longer willing to create success at the expense of their satisfaction and their quality of life. So usually the women I work with, if they're in a corporate setting, they're like middle management, so they're director level, and they would like to get to C-suite level, but they want to do that in a way where they're able to leverage their expertise. They don't want to continue to devote their whole lives to work and be left with the crumbs. And they want to create different ways of working and create new workplace cultures where care, where people feeling like they are part of a partnership rather than an extracting relationship is present, so people can truly flourish and focus on doing their best work. And I also work with established entrepreneurs who would like to build a thought leadership revenue stream to their business. So they've got clients, they know how to launch products and work with people one to one or work in groups, but now they want to take their expertise and create frameworks and position themselves so that they are doing facilitation for corporates, keynote speaking, and those sorts of things. So they're able to have a bigger impact with their work and not continuously have to create new programs and carry cohorts of people. I'm also a speaker, so I do keynotes for corporates, particularly around understanding burnout. So, really understanding the science of burnout and how we can work with our nervous systems to create cultures of thriving at work rather than surviving work. You know, success shouldn't mean that you work really hard, then you need to take a sabbatical from work because you're so burnt out. I speak to corporates about changing their workplace culture. So it's like a partnership, because I say work is one of the longest relationships most of us will be involved in, but the relationship is very toxic. And if our work was our spouse, many of us would have been divorced a long time ago. So it's about bringing conscious relationships into the relationship we have with work. I also talk about the myth of productivity, because productivity that is sustainable and regenerative isn't what we know it to be. And I also speak to why productivity for women and people who menstruate needs to be different due to our menstrual cycles and what happens during perimenopause. And I talk about the power of mentorship and sponsorship, because that has been fundamental for me throughout my career. And it's a way that we can nurture and develop and grow talent, whether it's within our businesses or within a corporate setting. And sometimes people hear me talk about things and present me with opportunities to speak about things. So, for example, in June, there's a conference over here called Atomicon, and I'm going to be talking there. It's going to be about productivity, but it's about how to 10x your results without 10xing your workload. So all things productivity and whatnot are the things I talk about, and I write about those things as well. So that's what I do.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
and
it is.
so much, so important. And so much came up in my mind when you were talking, and I felt that this conversation would be so much on the intuitive level this time, because we covered in our first episode, like how you have worked around this, how you, and also how you experienced that type of toxic productivity and burnout, and how we can also like find the signs of it,
Yeah.
and all that. I'm with some things that I think we didn't go deeper into is like what you said with working with our somatic experience, because that's something that you've worked with a lot, and then
Yes.
also our cycles. And I think it's, I don't know how we usually override the body, the symptoms, because if we are also like on an, probably on an astrological and soul level, very like airy and fire element based, then we always want to go out and up instead of
Yes.
going within. So
Yes.
how is, how are those things related to you, and what have you seen when it comes to like first acknowledging? I feel like it's like a separation between the brain and mind and the body, like the body is no longer factor in your life, which you, yeah.
Oh, au contraire, au contraire. So, my own intuition and somatic experience is what has made me or has guided me to change my work so that I'm working in this way. So, you talked about somatics, astrology, and intuition. Last year floored me totally. I was wiped out. I wasn't burnt out, but I was close. And I kept trying to do what I did before, and it wasn't working. I kept trying to structure things, and every time I leaned forward to do the work, I was pushed right back. And I kept being in this push, fall back relationship with my work. And in November, I thought, you know what? The big push with the book has slowed down. You need to figure out what on earth it is you're doing, because what you're doing right now isn't working. So I slowed down November. December, I was quiet. January, I was just wiped out. I spent the vast majority of January in bed. Anything I could do from bed, I was doing in bed, and that's not like me. Around the 21st of January, I realized you're spending a lot of time in bed, woman. There's something going on. So I just surrendered. I thought, I am just going to lean back. It felt a bit like rock bottom. And whilst rock bottom is scary, it's also really great because it's very solid ground, right? You're not going anywhere else. And I decided that I was going to listen to my guidance, my somatic guidance, my intuitive guidance, my spiritual guidance. And what I recognized was that last year I was going too slow. So the thing about burnout is you can get burnt out from doing far too much. You can also get burnt out from doing far too little. Because when you're somebody with a big capacity, when you're not going at a speed that is an energetic match, that action, that creativity that would be going through you like a conduit, it's stuck inside. And creativity that's not expressed, creativity that's repressed becomes anxiety. And that's what I was experiencing. If you think about riding a bike, if you go too slow, you're really wobbly. If you go too fast, you're out of control. You need to go at the pace that is good for you. The experience of publishing my book and stuff around it floored me. So I was going far too I was going far too slow, and I wasn't resting, relaxing, or surrendering to it. I kept trying to, like, the anxiety kept driving me. So you say it sounds like I'm doing a lot. I'm working right inside my alignment. So, speaking about intuition, my intuition was very clear. The way I was working previously, I was giving myself away. And I was giving myself away because I was doing work I have evolved out of, and I was working with people I have outgrown. Those people, absolutely wonderful. I love them. I love who they are. I love how they show up in the world. And I love how they were part of my own journey and supported my growth. And the other day, I was talking to somebody, and she used a term that she heard from somebody called Dr. Narina, I think it's Ramakan, where, and Dr. Narina Ramakan works in education, and she talked about working in education being like there are lots of people borrowing your nervous system. And I resonated so hard because I was working with people who were not at the level I was operating at now. It was almost like I felt like my nervous system was being borrowed. So people were borrowing my energy, and they didn't have the capacity to do much with it. So they kept coming back, borrowing my energy, and that was it. So bringing the astrology in, I'm an Aries rising, I'm a Cancer sun, I'm a Virgo moon with a Libra descendant. So to honor my astrology and my intuition, I had to acknowledge the fact that I'm a star. Not in a pop star way, not in a actor or actress way, but and in human design, I'm a 5-1 manifesting generator. I'm a natural leader. I'm a heretic. I'm very curious, and I have a tendency to see things in a different way. I've also got ADHD, so whether it's due to that or due to how I am, I'm able to connect dots where people don't see dots. I'm able to see a silver lining where people only see darkness. And I'm able to see in between the lines and speak truth to power in a manner that is confronting and also compassionate. There are not many people that can hold all of that. And I find that I'm often in an environment where my work can make people feel uncomfortable because I'm calling them into a level of maturity our society has conditioned us out of. So when I take all of those components in, the phrase iron sharpens iron keeps coming up. I need to be working with people who are at a level of leadership and inner authority that they can handle being really challenged so they can stretch and grow into how powerful they are. So when I talk about my work, I'm not empowering you. I'm not empowering you. I am your guide, and I am seeing you clearly, and I am not messing around. I am calling you up to who you actually are. I am calling you up to the person you are in moments when you're in flow and your inner critic doesn't have the opportunity to get involved. That's the type of individual I want to work with. And in terms of the organizations, when I tuned into all of the stuff that was going on for me energetically, somatically, astrologically, all of that, what I was doing was shying away from where my real magic, my real whatever it is, magnetism lies because of my own history of people being intimidated by me, things about being a show off, things about fitting in and not standing out. And what I recognized is I'm not an outsider, I'm an outlier. And when I don't allow myself to be that, I'm suppressing myself and I make myself ill. So where my work is best is where I'm working with people who work with groups of people. So I'm impacting people who can have an impact with a lot of people. I'm not supposed to be impacting lots of people like that. I'm supposed to be impacting the people who impact the people. And also, Where I work, one of the best environments for me to be is on a stage with a microphone, delivering potent information and tools for transformation that people can then go off. So my work day or my work week has gone from multiple repeating calls on my calendar over and over and over again to in person quite often, speaking and facilitation, where in that one call, I had the impact that I would have had across the week with these multiple repeating calls. So rather than being chained to my desk, I'm out. In Polyvagal language, when we talk about connection, I'm a super connector. I'm not great at having like ongoing community and people wanting to be around me because I'm like because I've got big fiery energy. That's what you meet first. I am much better at having a big impact on people rather than the drip drip ongoing, because I find that really I can do it, but it costs me energetically and it costs my nervous system a lot. So I'm so much better when I've got my areas of expertise, I've got my zone of genius, I've created my frameworks, my body of work that speaks to that. I tailor it to the organization I'm working with. I get up in the morning, I play some pumping house to get myself in the mood. I put on my suit, I do my hair, I do my makeup, I go there, I deliver, boom. And then I come home, I take my clothes off, I go for a walk. It's springtime here in the UK. The dairy farm down the road, the cows have had their calves. So I go down there, I chat to my cows, I chat to my calves, I regulate with nature, and then I come home. I don't have this ongoing repeating work. I don't have lots of people in my phone in Voxer asking me questions in between sessions, sharing things for me to review, etc. So this works with my energy. This works with me somatically brilliantly. Me playing down who I am and working at a slower pace, that's not me. I am somebody who needs to expend a lot of energy and then I need time for myself in solitude doing what I'm doing. So when I talk about work-life harmony, this is the work-life harmony that works for me in this season of my life. It is not taxing at all. The other type of work would leave me feeling drained. This type of work leaves me feeling exhausted, but in a good way because I've used up my energy properly rather than giving away my nervous system.
That's incredible, and what a shift and change. And it's kind of scary how like aligned our timeline has been since like fall and
Yeah,
until now. And I heard, and I've seen it in so many women actually the last 6 months. And I heard that, just tapping into the astrology, that it has been like a Pluto transit from like November into January, and then like a couple of days ago. And
yeah,
I could feel that last, because like you said, when we are like aware of our nervous system, our intuition deepens. Because I don't know if you also felt that when you're like start to disattach, it's like you start to also close down those extra senses that are our
absolutely.
intuition. And that's what I like really interested about the nervous system and burnout, and how the somatics and intuition can like lead us into so like understanding that and
Yeah,
healing that.
yeah. Because there's a real sweet spot, right? Underfunctioning is taxing,
Mm.
overfunctioning is taxing. So it's about finding what works for you. So people will say, "Oh, you're really busy," but in my mind, not even in my mind, I'm using my energy in a good way. I'm using my energy in a way that supports how I'm productive. So I have a lot of energy. I'm always thinking. I've always got some kind of tab open in my mind because I'm researching something, because it has sparked my interest. that really suits thought leadership work, because that's how we develop our intellectual property. That's how we're able to understand the human experience and really speak to it. And for somebody who needs a lot of movement, leaving my desk, leaving my house, going somewhere and having that structured time, not only does it give me the movement I need, it also gives me a sense of purpose. So for me, I feel inside my work the most alive and aligned I felt for years. And I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because so January I had that thought, February I had the idea for a program, and I thought, let me take a little component out of that program and test it. So I developed a program which is for service-based experts who want to develop thought leadership, and I thought, let me test it with some one-off sessions to see whether or not my existing audience is interested, number one, and to validate the product. I said that I agreed with myself that I would share 8 one-off strategy sessions, thought leader strategy sessions, and I would do it at a no-brainer, what feels like for me, a no-brainer price, so I could test, and I would share 8 of them. And my aim was to sell out 8 within 2 days. I sold out 8 of them within 6 hours, and then I added a couple more because people were saying they literally were about to book, and as they refreshed their screen, it had disappeared because it had gone so quickly. And then I launched my Maverick Incubator, which is the more expansive program. And I opened up space. 8 seems to be a common theme, because I opened up space for 8 people. 8 people joined. We started last week, and I almost cried because the caliber of people and the type of work they want to do is so aligned with where I am right now and what I want to do and what I want to share with the world. And then in addition to that, I've been getting loads of inquiries and bookings for speaking. So I know, like, this is what happens when we're in alignment. If we didn't understand how the law of radiance and how manifestation works, we would say, out of the blue, this happened. It was random. It's not random. It's not out of the blue. It's because I'm aligned, and things move really quickly for me when I'm in alignment. So I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And what I was trying to do last year was more of what I was doing previously on a bigger scale. And what I recognized in my body saying, we're just not playing this game anymore, I'm calling you to a higher standard, is that I am better at doing work at a greater depth with people who are ready for that level of expansion, for people who actively want to be challenged because they're ready for their next level of growth.
That's amazing, and also so important. Like when we tapped into this thing about our cycles, we have and seasons, and like we have different seasons of our life too. Like
Yes.
sometimes it's going up and we're doing something, and allowing for that to be okay to
Yeah.
change, because I don't think everyone can be, let's say, just in the same type of way of living for a long period of
No.
time. Some people can somehow cope with that, but like doing the same job, and I
Yeah.
think that like are also beautiful how we can match, or how we can combine that, those that need the change, as in
Yes.
astrology too, the like more fixed signs,
Yes.
and then those that are more changeable. And
And
then
I've got a lot of cardinal
mm,
energy in my chart. And also, in speaking about the cycles,
mm,
when I was speaking with one of my clients last week, she was talking about how she recognized that almost every 5 years she's shifting her career somewhat. And
yeah,
that resonated with me. And what I know is, because of how I am and who I am, I need to change when I need to change. It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to be logical. But when I feel that call to make change, I cause myself more damage when I don't change when I need to. And thinking about our cycles, I am in the thick of perimenopause. I'm going to be 48 soon. My body is telling me it's time to let go. It's time to strip back. So when we're thinking about our cycles, as much as I think about my cycle as it goes throughout the month and how it goes throughout the seasons, I'm also thinking about the fact that my overall cycle is telling me that now is the time to be stripping back and letting go. Now is the time to be dissolving the stuff I don't need anymore. And I don't need to be doing work that for me feels like mothering. That's not the work I need to do anymore.
Mm.
I joked the other day to somebody, I said, I'm like a sourdough starter. I'm going to get you started. And when you think about cardinal energy, that's what it's all about. So I'm going to help you get started. And because there's a lot of conversation, a lot of discourse online about feminine ways of doing things and this and that. We've got feminine and masculine for a reason. We all do. It can't just be one way. And when you're starting something, we forget. If we think about birth, for example, when a woman, a person with a womb, is carrying a baby and gestating, there's a lot of stuff going on. And then for the vast majority of people that give birth, labor is an almighty roar. You cannot start something in this, oh, I'm just tuning into the energy and I'm going to tune into my feminine, this, that, and the other. When you're starting something, it needs a push. We talk about nature like nature is some docile, gentle thing. Nature can be a beast. Think about earthquakes, think about volcanoes, think about storms, even think about, if you haven't seen one, Google a plant time lapse video on YouTube. When that delicate daisy is bursting out of the husk and burrowing the roots into the soil, it's ferocious. And then when it needs to push its way up through the top of the husk, through the soil, to break through the soil to get to the sunshine, again, it is moving like a force of nature. So we have to recognize there are, like, when we want to get something started, we do need to devote that energy. We do need to give it that push. We do need to dedicate energy towards bringing forth what we want to bring forth. And then we need to maintain, because we can't keep going at that pace. I'm very good at helping people do that push and work out what that pace needs to be so that they're able to do it on in a manner that's sustainable. And our nervous systems need that. We have a sympathetic branch of our nervous system for a reason. If it was all parasympathetic, we wouldn't get anything done. So we need to partner that parasympathetic activation with that sympathetic connection, engagement, and safety so that we can actually progress and do things in a manner that is compassionate, kind, and so that we're pacing it. Otherwise, we're not going to get done what we need to get done. And we do need to get things done. We don't need to be doing all the time, but we need to be able to have that harmony between the doing and between the being. Very important.
True, that's so true. And what you say, like the yin and yang is also within the masculine and the feminine. And if you look
Absolutely.
traditionally, I mean, it's Shakti that awakens Shiva from the dormant sleep. So it is
Exactly.
an activating force and
Exactly.
activating life. She's connected to activating death. Like it's like a misconception, because also what we spoke about a year ago, like how much unpaid work women do in the home. Like it's not a passive energy at all, I feel. It's just that we find the yin and yang in both aspects.
Absolutely.
And it's so important to honor that as well. And I mean, you tapped into Cancer. I'm a Cancer sun too. That is the motherly sign, but it's also a leadership sign, and it's also like a very powerful sign. So you don't only see it as a mother; it's like a real leadership energy in that.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to ask you a last question, since the time is running out, because you tapped into ADHD. And what I learned recently, I'm studying this now a lot, and is that, and connected to burnout and toxic productivity and women who work too much, it seems like ADHD, now I've studied it in children a lot, that it is linked to that good girl phenomenon. And that later, there's like a Swedish book, I think, about like women with ADHD and burnout. And I have no idea about that. I
Oh
can't
my
remember the
goodness.
title. Yeah. So is that something that you have like researched in yourself or others that you work with, that there's a link there and that you want to, because you have all this creative energy and you're so receptive and there's so much. And can that also lead us to
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it really, one of the things that leads me to burnout is the poor impulse control. If something's exciting, it's a yes. So what I've learned now is I can't trust my initial yes. I've got a mental note to myself that I sit with it and hold it to make sure it is actually a yes. Secondly, the rejection sensitivity, which manifests as pleasing behavior. One of my protocols, which I share in my book, is to ask myself, if I wasn't worried about looking bad or feeling bad, what would my answer be? If I wasn't worried about that person not liking me, what would my answer be? And with those two things alone, the monitoring my impulses and going through that protocol, like, am I wanting to say yes because I'm worried about rejection? That has led me to saying no to so many things. Things I would ordinarily say yes to, I am now saying no to without needing it. Like, forget justifying it to other people. When you've got that good girl conditioning, pleasing behavior, and your worth is based on how much you can do for others, you're often rationalizing and you're often explaining to yourself. So now there's no need for over explanation. There's no need for rationalizing. If it's not a full bodied yes that I can feel in my root, it's a no.
Mm.
It might be later on, but it's a no. And it's very interesting. I started getting Reiki, maybe it was in 2020. And one of the things my Reiki practitioner always has to do in my sessions is do work on closing my root, because she said, like, my root is always just like wide open, which is why I will get people who are like plugging into my nervous system and all of that kind of stuff. So what I have been very conscious of is developing a relationship with my root and also with my sacral, because that's my authority as a manifesting generator. And I'm not outsourcing all of myself to these things, but what I know is that when I am mindful of those things, I make much more powerful decisions that enable me to show up potently without burning out myself and without exhausting myself, which is why I am working in the way that I am working currently, because so with my range of speaker topics, for example, they all come from toxic productivity / redefining success. They're all under that umbrella. But with my mind that is very creative and likes to do a number of things at once, I'm satisfying that part of me by having these different branches of that one tree, so to speak. So I'm really working with myself, body, mind, and spirit in a way that, like, honestly, life just feels vivid. It feels like everything is technicolor now, not in a manner that's overwhelming, and like I can see really clearly. Um, it's like cool, fresh water. Whereas before, it just wasn't that, and I couldn't work out why, because up until then, this was work I loved. And I couldn't understand how work I loved was depleting me, because I'd evolved and I wasn't allowing myself to work in a manner that honored my evolution. And that is self-abandonment.
That's, yeah, that's so much wisdom and insights from you, and there's so much more to tap into, but I think we tapped into a lot of very beautiful things that also complements our first talk, which goes like deeply into also your beautiful book that I really recommend, Women Who Work Too Much.
Thank you.
And to honor your time, I would really recommend everyone to visit Tamu at Tamu Thomas on Instagram. I have your links in the show notes, and
Thank you.
live360.com with all letters, and to work with you and to just, listen into you. And you're still doing the podcast as well, right?
I've
Or did you?
paused my podcast,
Yeah.
and I need to see. Look, I've booked a session with my Vedic astrologer so that I can get the best date to relaunch my
Yeah.
podcast. So it is coming,
And
but I
there's
just
so
want to
many
consult the
episodes.
stars before
Yeah.
moving forward.
I love that. And there's so many beautiful episodes that I've listened to on there, so I can really
Thank you.
recommend that as well.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much, Tamu. I'm really happy and grateful for your work. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for coming back.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
Take care.